My name is Alex Salvador. I'm the International Sponsored Student Advisor or the Student Contact Officer at James Cook University in North Queensland. I have been in this position for almost 13 years and I work very closely with all of our Australia Award Scholarship students at James Cook University from all over the world. I've been working with Indonesian students since 2003, since I started working at JCU. It's actually quite interesting because the first group of students that I received when I had been there for a month or two, there was a good group from Indonesia. And I've had a close working relationship with Indonesian students doing a master's degree and PhD level studies for the last 13 years. I am a member of the International Student Support Team at JCU. So my main role is to provide the support to our Australia Awards scholarship students at JCU. So we do everything from, organizing accommodation from when they first arrive, helping them to settle in, helping them with their bank accounts, helping them with their families when they arrive, enrollment, pretty much everything that is required for our Australia Award scholarship students from the time they arrive or even before they arrive to the time they return home. So we organize a lot of social events during the semester. We organize a lot of various programs as well that would maximize the capacity of our students to pass or successfully complete their studies at JCU. So I'm the contact person, I'm the go-to person for all of our Australia Award scholars at JCU. So they come to me if they're having problem with their studies and I could arrange tutors for them. They would come to me if they're having problems at home and we can refer them to the correct service that can help them with their problems. So we're always there for the students and the students know where to find us. So they can either phone me or email me or come and see me in person. They can drop in anytime and we can help them as much as we can. Before the students arrive in Australia, we would send them what we call the pre-departure kit as well. So this is a specific information to the university that they are attending and the city that they will be living in. So we provide that information to them. So before they arrive, we link the students with the PPIA. So the PPIA at JCU, they're very active and they provide a lot of support to our Indonesian students who are arriving. And often they will help them with accommodation before they arrive. So when the Indonesian students arrive, accommodation is already organized for them, permanent accommodation. But we also provide airport pickup service. So we will have volunteer students who will be at the airport to receive brand new students. And we will have a driver with a bus or a truck to take the students to the university or to their temporary accommodation. And then within that first week, we help the students set up a bank account. We help the students to finalize their enrollment, get their student ID card finalized, and all the other administrative aspects relating to their studies. So by the end of week one, they should be in permanent accommodation. They will have all their enrollment finalized and they will have their bank card. They will have their overseas student health cover card. So they are ready to start the IAP. We encourage all students to arrive by themselves, at least in the first 2 to 6 weeks or the first 3 to 6 months if they are able to do so. The reason for this is that those first few weeks will allow the student to really settle in and to actually look for appropriate accommodation for their family or schooling for their children or childcare for their children. Often it's quite easy to find single room accommodation if you are a single person. But to look for a unit or an apartment or a house for rent, it's not as easy because there's always competition for the vacancies. And while there are a lot of vacant houses and apartments, there are also a lot of people looking for those. So if you arrive with your family, you will be forced to stay in temporary accommodation that can charge up from around $120 per night. So if you bring your family and you don't find accommodation for a couple of weeks, you will have spent a lot of money for temporary accommodation. So I would suggest the student arrives first, even the first 2 weeks at least, to find that apartment, to find that house for rent, and then get the family to come in. The other thing to keep in mind is that most units and apartments or houses will be unfurnished. There will be no furniture in the house. So if you have your family here, You'll be moving into a house with no beds, with no tables, with no fridge, okay? So if you arrive by yourself, then you can slowly accumulate all the furniture that you need. There are second-hand shops. There's buy and sell pages on Facebook, for example. Gumtree is another good source of furniture and home furnishings, okay? So you can slowly buy a bed or 2 beds, buy a fridge and everything. And then when you have all of that, then your family can arrive and they will be comfortable and you will be comfortable as well. So in Queensland, if you're arriving with your child or children who are of school age, 5 years and over, they will be required to attend school. You will need to complete the confirmation of enrollment application form from Education Queensland International. So, and we will guide you, we will help you with this process if required. But it is your responsibility to look for the appropriate school for your children. We will give you the details of where the schools are, but you will have to go to the schools yourself and find out if there's a place for your son or your daughter. If your child or children are below school age, they will have to go to childcare if you have no one to care for them at home. This is especially good if your spouse would like to look for work. So you go to university, your child goes to childcare, and your husband or wife can look for work. In Australia, under an Australia Award Scholarship, you will be eligible for a childcare benefit. That means you will be able to receive up to 50% discount on childcare. So make sure you ask your student contact officer about childcare benefits and how to apply for that. We usually indicate on OASIS that students arrive 2 weeks before the IAP. The Introductory Academic Program is a compulsory program for all of our Australia Award scholars. And I find that this IAP is actually a crucial program that you must attend. It not only gives you that foundation or additional skills in studying in Australia, but I think just as importantly, it gives you that social network. It gives you that social contact immediately on arrival. During the IAP, you will be with people who are in the same position as you. People who perhaps it is their first time in Australia, first time outside of their home country, people who are perhaps away from their children as well, or away from their husbands and wives. So you have this commonality that you can share, and I find that our students bond instantly because they can relate to each other. And that is so helpful because you need that in this first few weeks of settlement into Australia. The 4 weeks of the IAP or more in some universities will really give you that solid foundation on starting your postgraduate studies in Australia. Some of you may not have studied for a long period of time, yeah? So it's good to have that introductory academic program to help you get back into that student mode, to remind you how to research topics, to remind you how to write academically in English, okay? You may have done your studies in Indonesian before, but this time you're writing essays, assignments in English. So it's important to do that during the IAP. At the end of the 4-week or 6-week period of the IAP, you will find that the other students in that IAP will become your friends for the whole time you are in Australia. And I have seen this firsthand. You know, Indonesian students make friends with other Indonesian students and with other students from other parts of the world. So Papua New Guinea students form a bond with their Indonesian students, Solomon Islanders, and so on. So by the time orientation week starts and all the other international students arrive, and by the time the semester begins, you are in a really good place compared to other international students because you're settled in, you're relaxed, and you're ready to start your program. That's right, so the introductory academic program covers a lot of things about academic matters, but just as importantly, it will cover things about cultural issues. It will teach you about settling into the city where you are. There may be tours of the city. They will show you where to go shopping for food that you might miss. They'll tell you where to find your sambal in jars or your vegetables or all those things, okay? That's what the IAP is really important for. It allows you that time to not only settle into the university, but also into the city where you are staying and into Australia in general. The Australia Award Scholarship says that the IAP must be a minimum of 4 weeks. Some universities run it for 4, some for 5, some for 6 weeks. So it depends on the university that delivers the program. I guess the difference between the IAP and the PDT is that the IAP, while it focuses on some of the academic matters, will focus on local matters, local issues. The PDT may cover things about Australia in general, about banking in Australia, about living in Australia. But the IAP, when we're talking about the settlement topics, will focus on the city where you're living. It will tell you here in Townsville or here in Sydney or wherever, this is where you go to do this. Or these are the laws in Queensland, or these are the laws in New South Wales or Victoria, because different states will have different laws about different matters. So the IAP really is a very specific program for that university, for that city, to help the students settle into that particular area. I think it's important for students to really attend the pre-departure training, because again, it's just your general what you need to know before you go to Australia. You know, don't bring goods that are prohibited by quarantine. You know, don't do this or do this, but generally in Australia. And then the IAP will support that and will give you more localized information and advice that you will need. Some information you will need, but it's also compulsory because you need to know about the legal matters, for example, in the particular state that you are in. So it's really important that you attend all of the IAP. If something prevents you from not attending all of it, attend as much of it as you can and make sure that you catch up on any information that you may have missed if you arrive a couple of days late. When I see students who complete the IAP and compare them with similar students who are full fee paying, not under a scholarship, and they did not do the IAP, the difference is so obvious, okay? You can see the students who had just arrived the weekend before orientation week, no IAP, they look like they're lost, okay? They look like they're a bit scared as well. You can see that while they are excited, they're not so sure about what to do, where to go and do things. And then I turn my head and look at the IAP students, they're relaxed. They're settled in and they're ready to do the work. And I find that the IAP students, the students who have completed the IAP, are really prepared and well prepared and ready to tackle the academic work that is required by their program. And this is apparent in, for example, in the high success rate of most of our Australia Award Scholarship students compared to non-scholarship students. They've had this 4 or 6 weeks program to prepare them, and they've started the program very smoothly. So I think the IAP is crucial to the success of their program.